Hello and welcome to the Agri-Learn podcast. I'm your host, Rangeland, an aspiring full-time farmer, as well as the brand ambassador for the Women and Youth Loan Scheme product at the Agricultural Bank of Namibia. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Erastus Ngaruka, who is the Technical Advisor for Livestock and Rangeland Management at AASD at the Agricultural Bank of Namibia. Mr. Ngaruka, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, welcome, and thanks for having me.
So, what are the 4 important questions that one needs to ask themselves when considering farming?
Yeah, it's very important that any farmer or even an aspiring farmer should make themselves understand the purpose of farming or why are they engaging in farming by asking themselves these 4 questions and then answering them themselves. So, number 1, why do you want to farm or why are you farming? So you need to have a purpose for your farming. And then number 2, what is it that you want to produce? You must have a product in mind, isn't it? And then number 3, whom are you producing for?
Exactly.
So that product, obviously, it must have a market or a target market. Yeah. Then number 4, what are your expectations? Yes, you have a product, it's there in the market, but what do you expect? Obviously, should be money in the form of profit even. And then in the end, you ask yourself, is my farming a business?
That's a good question.
Yeah, so it should be a business. Farming is a business, not a status, not a lifestyle, but it's a business because you are investing and you're expecting returns. So obviously, the moment you start exchanging or transacting, it makes it a business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, one more thing. Why are these questions important?
They are very important because they can guide you, they can make yourself understand and also maybe give you confidence on what you want to do with regard to farming, because now you understand everything. You understand why you have a purpose, you have a product, you have a market, then there's something that you're expecting, and then you call it a business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. What is a farm management plan and why is it important?
Yeah, a farm management plan is a tool that every farmer should use because it's a tool that you can use to guide yourself. So it's a tool that you can use to manage your resources, to control situations at the farm, and even to achieve your goals. So probably if you have a plan, you are able to manage your resources such as livestock, your money, your water, and so forth, or control situations. Maybe you have a disease outbreak at the farm, but if you had a plan before, obviously you might have avoided or you have measures in place to control that situation. And again, if your farming has a direction, obviously you will be guided by that plan.
On to our next question. What are the components of a farm management plan?
Yes, you have a whole farm management plan, but within that bigger plan, there are sub-plans or components that will have to be part of that. And it must be a document, or it must be plans on paper, not just plans scratching your head. Should be plans on paper.
Okay.
So these plans or this management plan should look at your production.
Okay.
So meaning you have to have a production plan within that a whole plan, where you have to look at your production activities. You have objectives. You put targets and specific activities that will help you to achieve specific targets. For example, if you want a certain number of animals at the end of the year. So obviously you have an objective and targets.
Exactly.
So how will you reach there? So you have activities in a calendar to say every month or this particular month I'm expected to do this to achieve that. And then you also need to have a marketing plan.
Very important.
You have a product, but where is this product going? Who demands for it? So when are you marketing it? And what are you expecting, the price, for example? So you need to always follow market trends so that at least your product is able to satisfy the market. It should be absorbed and satisfy the market and satisfy the business again.
Exactly.
So it's very important to have a marketing plan. And when you are marketing, it should be demand-based and also need-based. So the needs of the business should force you to sell, but then the demand should also be there. Yeah. And then thirdly, you need to have a financial plan. Yeah, you need to know. So what is it that
now that it's a business.
It's a business.
Exactly.
Obviously. So you have invested, you're expecting something, but now this money that you get from selling your product, what is it for? Obviously, it should be from the business needs. So you have to determine your income, your expenses, you need to budget as well. Even if there are items that you have to buy for your enterprise, or maybe medicines, leaks and stuff, they need to be budgeted for. So if you have a financial plan, you are able to do that. And then you need to have a labor plan as well.
Okay.
Yes, you have your animals, but who takes care of them? Not yourself. Probably for the part-time farmers, you would have someone there at home taking care of your animals. Exactly. But this person is he knowledgeable enough, skilled enough to take care of your millions in that kraal. So he needs to be motivated, he needs to have that sense of ownership for that business. So let's give attention to our workers as well. And then lastly, you need to have a risk plan.
A risk plan?
Yeah, in agriculture, the risks are always there. So they are endless. They can be technological, market risks, climate change, drought, and so forth.
Yes.
So you need to have a plan for them. So what if there's a disease outbreak? Do you have any plan to control such a disease? Or what if drought hits? How will you survive through the drought? So it must be part of the plan as well. Yeah.
All right, that was well explained. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why is record keeping important, and what are some of the records to be kept?
Yes, we are talking of farming being a business, and obviously what they say is if you can't measure, it's difficult to manage. So that's why records come into play or become very important. So records, it's a tool that will also help you to manage your farm easily, or that will guide you towards where you want to end through your production. It's a tool that can help you even evaluate and monitor the progress of your business, even the performance. Yeah, for example, if you have set targets or your calving percentage, for example, over the years, you might be able to track based on your records, like how it's trending, is it increasing or decreasing? Then you have decisions to be made, and these decisions should be based on the information, not just a decision out of the blue, but it will be based on the information that you get from your records. And even if you want advice or an assistance from someone, probably you want financial assistance, you need to present your business case, and it should be supported by the records. Even if you want advice, your animal is sick, from an expert. This person needs to know the history of that animal. What did you feed the animal? When last did you vaccinate? What? So that's the purpose of records. They will help you to monitor, to manage, to make decisions, and even to get assistance easily.
Now, Mr. Ngaruka, you and I met sometime last year at the pre-settlement training program, and one of the things I really took note of was when you mentioned that it is important when a new farmer is about to buy livestock, they should buy livestock from an already existing farmer. They should buy livestock from somebody who has records. Why is that important?
Yeah, thank you. That is very important. You have many cases of farmers, especially these new upcoming farmers, who are buying livestock from left, right, and center, and then they end up with complaints to say, no, I bought animals from that particular farmer or region, but then they died when they came here, or they got sick, or they got thinner, and so forth. So it's very important that you have confidence in the person that sells you animals, and that confidence will be assured by the records that they have. So are they vaccinating the animals, all the necessary diseases? Are they giving the correct food to the animals? Are the animals of the correct age that you are buying? Probably you might say, he might sell you, he wants to sell. No, it's a young animal, buy it. But how sure are you that it's young? So probably there must be some records, for example, when was it born, or how many calves or lambs does it have before you take it. So that's why it is very important. You need to have a track record, a history of that animal, so that you are able to maybe copy or manage it appropriately. Yeah.
All right. Well explained.
Thank you.
So let's move on to rangeland. What is rangeland, and why is rangeland management important?
Yeah, simply, a rangeland is an area where there's natural forage materials that are utilized by livestock or wild animals. And it's very important to manage rangeland sustainably, because it sustains all livelihoods. Even as humans, we derive food, constructing materials, and all the other necessary, even wood that we use at our household levels, or even economically and so forth. Forestry products, many things we derive from the rangeland. So probably that's why it's very important to manage it Yeah, because it supports all our livelihoods.
Not only
including livestock, grazing, and so forth. As humans as well, we survive from the rangeland.
Okay. Now, what are the fundamental principles of rangeland management?
Yeah, there are several principles amongst others, and even there's a document produced by the Ministry of Agriculture in 2012 that is called Rangeland Management Policy and Strategy. So there are basic principles that are set out there that every farmer can follow or have it at the back of their mind. For example, one principle number one says you have to know your resource base.
Okay.
You have to know what you have, so that you are able to manage it. What grass do you have? How's your soil conditions and so forth? And you also need to manage your rangeland for recovery and rest. Allow the rangeland to rest so that it recovers for reutilization again. And you also need to manage for effective utilization of the plants. Don't overuse and also don't underuse.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also you need to control soil erosion or improve the soil conditions. You also need to handle or control bush encroachment. And you also need to make sure that your infrastructures, fencing, the camps that you are erecting, and the water distribution is also well done such that they are able to help you manage or control your grazing. And again, all these principles should also be in one basket. You can't separate them.
Yeah. Let's talk about the threats. What are some of the biggest threats to rangeland productivity in Namibia?
Yeah, rangeland productivity depends on rainfall.
Okay.
And it also depends on utilization or the grazing regime. Yeah, so obviously for the plants to grow, they need moisture. So now with this current drought, recurrent droughts, they are affecting rangeland productivity. So in the time of drought, probably there's no rangeland productivity. The grass is scarce or the plants are dry and so forth. And again, with regard to management regimes, the way you are grazing your area, if you overgraze probably, it means that you have compromised the productivity of that area. So this leads to other problems, for example, like bush encroachment, soil erosion, and so forth. So those are the very big threats that we are having. Also, our human activities, for example, we are deforesting areas, we are clearing areas for settlement and for crop production and so forth. So we are also encroaching on the rangeland where there are supposed to be maybe food for the animals or areas or habitats for other animals, wild animals and stuff. So the threats are bush encroachment, soil erosion, deforestation, and desertification. Yeah.
And how do we mitigate the threats?
Yeah, obviously with the rainfall activities, we are not in control of that. So if there's rain, yes, it's not in our control. If there's no rain, it's not in our control. But then the things that we have in our hands or in our control, we should manage them. Yeah, we have our livestock, we have the land there. So we either need to add value to our grazing areas by even planting more plants or planting these valuable grazing plants or control soil erosion and then make sure that whatever we are harvesting from the rangeland, we do it on a sustainable manner. Even if we have to control bush encroachment, for example, we need to do it on a sustainable manner so that at least our rangelands remain productive. Yeah.
All right. Now, what are some of the most common challenges that Namibian farmers encounter with regards to rangeland management?
Yeah, so it will also depend on the scales, the various scales or landscapes. If you look at communal farmers, so it's very difficult for them to manage grazing, for example, because it's a land that belongs to anyone. Even if I'm in my village trying to manage my grazing, the neighboring village, the animals are coming there. So it's a bit difficult unless we are able to maybe rehabilitate it in such, for example, maybe debushing, controlling bush, controlling soil erosion. It's somehow different, where now you can't control the animals grazing on it, but at least you are able to rehabilitate, thinning out bush and controlling soil erosion. Yeah, but then when you are talking of commercial areas, the challenges could be, yes, if they have bush, one of the challenge could be now the cost of even controlling bush and also the knowledge thereof. Yeah, probably the machinery that you are using, it's somehow sophisticated, and it's also large areas that require a lot of effort and a lot of resources to do so. So there's many challenges depending on the landscape level. Yeah.
All right. Talked about soil, talked about grass. Let's talk about carrying capacity. What is carrying capacity and why is it important?
Yeah, carrying capacity is a term that we are using to determine the ability of a specific area to carry a number of livestock for a specific time period. So when you're talking about carrying capacity, it's not all about the size of the area, but the most important aspect is that how much grass, how much food is in that particular area. So carrying capacity is determined based on the availability or the amount of food that is in that particular area. So it's a tool, or it's a very important approach that one should use, because it will help you to make judgments and also decisions with regard to grazing. So it gives you estimates. How many animals can you keep on that area or in that camp, and for how long? So probably if you're approaching that time, given the determination that we have done, then you have to make a decision. What do I do next? So my carrying capacity was this much for this, maybe for 3 months. So now, what do I do after 3 months? Then you have to either rotate your animals or maybe reduce your animal numbers on that particular area.
Mr. Ngaruka, we are running out of time, and I know you have to attend to your mentees, but I've got one more question for you. Right, let's talk about sustainable methods. What are some of the sustainable methods Namibian farmers can use to manage rangeland?
Yes, there's specific, given the threats that you are facing, probably we have talked about bush encroachment, we have talked about soil erosion. So any method that we are trying to introduce to rehabilitate our rangeland should also be sustainable, should also be less costly, and should yield results. So there are basic things that one can do. Probably we need to revegetate or reseed. So if you are talking of livestock farmers, cattle farmer, they would want grass on their rangelands. So and for them to recover the grass is through replanting, because it might be difficult to rest an area for an extended period of time until you get the grass that you want. So but now, for you to get the grass that you want in probably the most shortest period of time, it's only when you reintroduce these grasses by reseeding, planting them in your grazing areas, or you can even plant them in your crop fields, so that at least they are able to produce seeds and replant themselves. And ways of also controlling soil erosion, you can use various methods. You can use bush canopies, maybe for those farmers who are controlling bush densities. After cutting that bush, you leave the canopy or the branch there on the soil, so that it's able to protect that particular area. So whatever grass grows out there, it's protected and it's able to produce seeds and disperse the seeds. So any method that you are trying should not cause any harm further on the rangeland. So the easiest ways that farmers can recover their rangeland is through controlling soil erosion, using local materials like the bush, as I'm saying, or rocks, and also to replant grasses on these rangelands. Otherwise, you should have knowledge of what you are doing, and you must also consult. There's various institutions that are involved in bush rehabilitation and so forth, that you need to also consult to ask for the techniques that are being used. And they must be as simple as possible. The costly, they must not be expensive, and they must yield the results that you want. And we need to be patient.
Patience is one thing. The most important thing that farmers should have is.
Good.
Right, Mr. Ngaruka, any final remarks?
The rangeland is the foundation of anything. We all depend on the rangeland, and if you are a farmer, rangeland should be your priority. So start farming with grass first, before you go farming with livestock. And any change that we bring on our rangelands will change our livelihoods the same way. So if we bring a positive change, our livelihoods will go this positive way, and vice versa. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Agri-Learn podcast. It was a pleasure having you. Until
Welcome.
next time.
Thank you.
Agribank. Agribank. Season bank.